What's up, guys? Here with you with FC Wonderkid, episode 77. Here with my guy, Fredson. How are you?
Oh, man. What a Sunday or a weekend of football that we had in front of us. Come on, we had El Clásico. We had Manchester City, Liverpool. We have a lot to talk about. So I am incredibly excited to get into this because a lot happened over the weekend. And finally, it's not the same teams winning all the time.
Facts.
We've got a little bit of variation, but first, before we get into it, I got to ask you, Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. And yes, I was quite surprised with some of these results. Liverpool getting that win. But yes, the El Clásico, the biggest game that happened. We got to start there. And I'm going to say this right from the start. I'm going to go bold and say Rodrigo Goes is the best super sub in the world of football right now, man. This man only needed 5 minutes to score in El Clásico. And Tite, no doubts you need that sauce in the Brazil national team, okay? Rodrigo Goes, 1% chance, man, to beat City in the past. And now in El Clásico, they needed someone, and Rodrigo Goes came up, man. And I gotta say, this is the Real Madrid that showed results, and the rebuild is being successful. Valverde, okay, was bought in the past for 5 million. And right now, Kroos is tweeting that he's a top 3 player in the world right now. Amazing buy, and one of the most underrated players in the world for the level he's showing. Uruguayan midfielder that is bold. One of the boldest around.
Yeah.
I gotta say it.
Yeah, still what, 24, 25 years old?
24. So young. So young.
Yeah.
Like,
And it was injuries, right, early on that kind of kept him from being as consistent, and he just grew into the game, much like Rodrigo last season, grew into the role, accepted the role that he had taken, but Fede Valverde was that was a peach of a goal that he scored. And I will say something right now, because I know for some reason there's a divisiveness between you and I when it comes to Real Madrid and Barcelona. that Rodrigo goal, that was a soft penalty. That was definitely a soft penalty in my mind. Yes, it might have been a pen, but like that's one of those ones where if it wasn't called, I don't know.
And there was a decision before that Lewandowski got hit. And there was no pen there. Look, a lot of people are going to focus on the ref. I do believe that's a detail, an important detail. But come on, Barca, Xavi, man, needs to do more, man. I love Xavi ball, okay? But they need the results. The disappointment against Inter. And now against Real Madrid. It's just so bad to see, man. And it ruins the vibe of the team. They need more signings in January and in the summer, okay, Barca. Laporta will go bold in January once again. Like, it's inevitable.
But did they or did they not need that Champions League group stage money? I'm sorry, that Champions League knockout round money to be able to go and get the targets that they want. And let's be honest, they're experiencing the worst week of their season so far. Okay, they're experiencing a little bit of an injury crisis. It was nice to see Jules Koundé back in and going for it, but also Frankie de Jong, like that was his fifth start of the season, and like you throw him right into El Clásico. Yes, is he good enough to play? Sure, but he's got to start. Exactly. Why has this not happened previously? And I am going to say it. You've got a bunch of old guys like Busquets and Piqué who clearly made mistakes, Piqué or so, midweek. And you've got a bunch of young guys that are trying to get used to this fixture congestion, right? That's only going to get worse as the season goes on. So am I sitting here making excuses for Barcelona? Absolutely not. But it definitely does play into it because it's not about whether or not Gavi or Pedri or De Jong or any of these guys are world class. They are world class. It's more so whether or not they are consistently incisive, right? Like just consistently getting it done. And in a game like El Clásico, you make one mistake and you're down whatever. You get Benzema, right, slotting it home after that. Who created that? Vinny Jr. I don't know. It was a wonderful game of football.
True.
I honestly don't think, and I think you definitely don't agree with me here, but I I don't think it was as lopsided as a 3-1 result suggests. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm going to say this, man. Benzema, in this game, okay, Benzema has now more goals scored in El Clásico than Luis Suarez. 12 goals in El Clásico, and that shows the levels of Benzuz, and he's going to get the Ballon d'Or, no doubt, deservedly so after that Champions League run last season. But I got to say, man, Drake too. Just want to give a mention to that, man. Drake lost $833,000, okay, with his bet that had an Arsenal win and a Barca win, man. That was sad to see him losing that much money, man, okay? And Real went bold to do that. And I said Valverde, mentioned Valverde, and he was the man of the match. Man of the match of that game. Shout out to Lunin, too. No Courtois, no party? No, that wasn't the case. Lunin matched that defense. Great job by him. And Militão. What a game from Eder Militão. What a game, man, in El Clásico. Gotta say that.
And I'm going to add a name in that defense because Ferland Mendy has still, I believe, in 6 Clásicos that he's played in, has not lost yet. 5 wins, 1 draw when Ferland Mendy starts in the Clásico or even just plays in El Clásico. So Ferland Mendy has been very trusty for them, and he's a heck of a player that like kind of gets lost in a situation because he's not. I don't know. He's not Teo Hernandez like bombing down the sideline, starting attacking moves on his own, but he is trusty. And Militao, you're right. Militao is great, but I don't think we can get past how good once again, how good that Real Madrid midfield is.
Barca had only conceded 1 goal in La Liga before going against Real Madrid, and Real Madrid managed to stop the unbeaten run of away game wins of Xavi, man. What an accomplishment for Real Madrid this weekend, man. I gotta say, and Tchouaméni, man. What a game from him and Modric and Kroos, okay? The midfield of Real Madrid showed that they are 100% world class and still one of the best in the world. The Tchouaméni replacement from Casemiro is the right one. Elite rebuild from the Galacticos, man. Kroos, what a game. Showed his football IQ. Showed it, man. I have to say, I have to give credit where credit's due. Like, it's scary to see Real Madrid keeps on improving with time, trusting the youth, Vini, Rodrigo, Tchouaméni, all of these ballers. And Barca, not the best game from Pedri, and it's a tough time. But Alejandro Balde started. That's something positive, I gotta say, in my opinion.
That's something positive. I don't know. I feel like Xavi might have started off this excitement for El Clásico a little bit oddly with the soundbite that was translated here. Okay, as Xavi saying that he gets horny for El Clásico, or that he gets like sexually aroused for El Clásico, and that doesn't surprise me. And to be honest, that's true, right? I mean, come on, if you're a fan of football, you want El Clásico in all of its glory. But for like the boss to say that in prep of it at the Bernabeu, I don't know. It just threw some odd like karma undertones where it just felt like he wasn't going to get his way today. And when it comes down to it, Xavi's probably, I haven't seen his post-match comments, but he's probably gonna blame the reffing, the referees.
He didn't. He said it's still October and we have to make some changes. Okay,
and he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right.
That's facts. Yeah. That's the reaction I think he should have. Honestly,
that is the reaction he should have. But when it comes down to it, I got to ask you one question because this is circulating in the States. I don't know if it's circulating where you are. There are a lot of people out there. Blue check marks, if you will, that are saying that Xavi is actually on the hot seat.
No.
Now, Laporta's already come out and said whatever happens in El Clásico, loss. Yeah. Whatever happens in El Clásico, nothing's going to happen to him. But then again, there have been things that Laporta has said that he is kind of, it's just like lip service, right?
The players are with Xavi. The players are still with Xavi, I think.
They definitely are. Okay. And I agree with you. I don't think there should be any reason. I mean, I think the thought process that Barcelona was going to immediately go top of the Champions League group top of the table with no problem, go freaking unbeaten all season. Naive of any one of us to think. And if Xavi actually thought that, it was naive of him to think that too.
And
because this is world football.
And no injuries.
And no injuries.
Man. If that was the case, it would have been much easier. But that wasn't, okay? That's the first thing too. But I agree. There was too good to be true. What everyone was saying. I agree. And with the Barca talk with Real, I just want to say too, man, the Ballon d'Or is going to be won by Benzema, a Real Madrid player, and the women's Ballon d'Or is going to be won by Alexia, a Barca player. So the El Clásico is in the Ballon d'Ors too. It's just a fun fact.
And how about the shade that Lewandowski threw at Karim Benzema? And more so at I forget who the hell gives the Ballon d'Or.
It's true.
But more exactly if they don't cancel it.
What's the quote?
The quote was, I believe Karim Benzema will win it if they don't cancel the Ballon d'Or.
I love Lewandowski for that. That's facts. He should have won it.
I agree. I agree. But hey, he got Striker of the Year. Come on. And it's the only time they ever gave that award. It's the only time they ever gave that award. He should be happy. He's got his own Wikipedia entry. The only time they ever gave Striker of the Year, he gets it. Just kidding. I mean, yes, he was robbed. We can all say it. He was robbed. Robert Lewandowski should have Ballon d'Or winner next to his name. I agree.
Love it. And people, anything we missed from the El Clásico, please put down below in the comments. And we appreciate it. A like in this video because we want to see this podcast going up the charts community. But now, leading up to a different scenario, and it was the second big game that it was Liverpool against Man City. And in Anfield, it remains unbeaten with Virgil van Dijk, okay? And Haaland showed levels, but Virgil van Dijk showed above Haaland, man. There was an interception of Virgil van Dijk that was insane. And I gotta say this too, man. Mo Salah has 8 goals scored and 5 assists against Pep Guardiola's Man City. The player with the most goals scored against Guardiola's City, man. Next to Jamie Vardy. Salah went bold, man. What a player. Like, what a game.
We're 2 weeks away from Halloween here in the States, and we just found Pep's boogeyman, and it is Mo Salah. You had to see some of this coming, right? And I bet Pep watched Liverpool play Rangers midweek and saw a 45 minutes that was disjointed, that first 45 minutes, and credit to Rangers for holding them. But that second half that they played was the momentum builder, right? That 7-1 destruction at Ibrox. I mean, that doesn't happen lightly generally. That was one of the worst defeats in Rangers history, if not the worst defeat in Rangers history. And I think that's the momentum, that's the wake-up call that they needed to come into Anfield and say, no, not here. But you're 100% correct. That Van Dijk interception that you're talking about, the cross that like 3 weeks ago, closer to the beginning of the season, that would have been on Haaland's head and in the back of the net because Van Dijk would have stretched his neck, he would have just missed it, and Haaland would have pounded it home.
And look,
right?
It's true. And like this is a bold fact too, man, with Alisson too. What a pass from Alisson. And it's Alisson's third assist to Mo Salah in his career. One of the best goalkeepers around. And Alisson once again shows that he has to start for Brazil, okay, in my opinion. Alisson is unbelievable and saved Liverpool many times in that game, man. Alisson levels.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, there were a couple times I thought Alisson was going to get beat, and it just didn't. City just couldn't put it together. They were threatening. I still think they're probably going to win the Premier League, but when it comes down to it, Alisson had the game that they needed. Mo Salah had the game that they needed. Fabinho had the game that they needed. There was a lot of good things to think about, but they didn't play a dominant game. They played a counter game, right? And the counter worked. I mean, it all came down essentially to that João Cancelo posted up on Mo Salah. Alisson puts it pin perfect. bounces it right into Salah's foot, and Salah turns Cancelo like perfectly. And I don't even think it's Cancelo's fault, right? I just think Salah was just so expert. Cancelo may have slipped a little bit, and boom, he puts it by Ederson, and game on. But hey, listen, the first goal, or the first time in 10 games that Erling Haaland has not been on the scoreboard, one. And that was the first away game that Manchester City has lost since the beginning of last season. Since the beginning of last season.
Man.
Unbelievable.
Like, for Club 2, man, now's the time. Now the spirit is going up. And with that Champions League game, I want to say, too, Mo Salah went bold and had the fastest UCL hat-trick ever, okay, with 6 minutes and 12 seconds, man. That is a bold stat, man. What? Like, what? Like, City away, right? That was a huge record, man, from City. Like,
it was. And to be honest, like, Mo Salah, I always forget this. Like, when you see him, those shots, those goals versus Rangers, I honestly forgot that he literally has, like, no windup whatsoever with his leg. He is somehow able to get power and precision off the ball by literally, all he needs is, like, this much space, and he gets that shot off and scores most of the time. It's amazing. But if you're going to shout out Salah's 6 minutes, 6-minute hat trick, we'll talk about it later when we talk about who Braga getting new ownership. But Vitinha was the only one midweek in European play to score a perfect hat trick, not a 6-minute, a perfect hat trick. He had one with his head. He had one with his left foot, and he had one with his right foot. So congratulations to 22-year-old Vitinha. If you don't know the name, which I don't know the name well, Alex, you're going to educate me later. But Vitinha was pretty awesome for Braga. But anyway, back to Liverpool, Manchester City, because that yeah, sorry.
And I just want to say, like, the Liverpool Man City game, man. Klopp versus Guardiola. It's the best and the biggest rivalry since the Mourinho, Ferguson, and Wenger days. No doubt in my mind, man. We will be talking about this Klopp Guardiola rivalry for years and years to come. And shout out to Guardiola that he will get that treble. I still believe that Man City will win the treble this season. Just want to say that.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, I don't know if they'll get. I really don't know. I'm not even going to make any. You already made the take. I'm not going to make the take. But what I am going to say is you are absolutely right about Pep Klopp, the rivalry there. And everyone here, everybody listening better enjoy it because it's probably not going to last too much longer. All right.
But let me ask you this, man.
New adventures.
A start bench cell with everything that's happening with this. Like, could you decide with a start bench cell with Benzema, Lewandowski, and Haaland right now? Like, with these three right now, playing right now? Like, because I was expecting a Haaland goal today, to be honest. Yeah. And Benzema showed up. Is there a start bench cell?
I mean, here's the thing: is if we're taking Benzema's form at the beginning of the season versus obviously Benzema in his finest during the Champions League last season, right? He's still kind of getting going. Whereas I definitely think this season, Lewandowski and Haaland have much more, incisiveness, much more precision, much more, what's the word? Danger, right? There's just more danger to their names right now. But I think as the season moves on, Benzema's going to move up there. So if you're going to ask me right now, off of current form, even after El Clásico, I'm going to say start Haaland, bench Lewandowski, sell Benzema.
I'm usually the Lewandowski guy, but I think I'm going to bench, man, Benzema. That game, man, like that El Clásico game,
it was a great game.
Got me a bit disappointed, even with the 2 goals of Lewandowski against Inter. I still think like Benzema and Vinicius, that link up is the best link up in world of football right now, next to Haaland and De Bruyne. Those 2 link ups, man. It's like football. It's the world class levels, man. Right now.
But I'll tell you right now. I mean, Dembele and Lewandowski should be that link up as well. I honestly believe that Lewandowski has been carrying Barcelona a whole lot more, obviously, than Karim Benzema has been carrying Real Madrid this season. So what it comes down to is if Lewandowski has to create stuff out of thin air, it's not always going to work out as Barcelona wants it to.
True.
They need Dembele to be incisive. They need Rafinha to be incisive. Both of them were for the first couple matches of the season, and they have since definitely fallen off some.
Where's Dembele, man, in the big games now? Against Inter and against Real Madrid. Facts right there, man. And yes, we're now moving up to a better vibe, okay? The Arsenal Guardiola's pupil with Arteta, I gotta say, leading up now to Arsenal. Arsenal are 4 points clear in the Premier League right now, and it's facts that Arsenal are title contenders, playing the way they are, man. Okay, players like Gabriel Jesus, Saliba, all of them are upping the level, and that win against Leeds, it's a hard win, but getting a clean sheet with that too shows that they are the real deal right now, Arsenal. And Arsenal, for the first time ever in the club's history, they have 9 wins in their first 10 Premier League games, man. Arteta went bold, and now's the time. In January, get reinforcements and reinforce that title contention, man. I believe that they can be there. They can be there, top 3.
Listen, I agree. Definitely top 3. I still think winning this thing is going to be extra tough. But you are right. That was a tough win against Leeds. Leeds, to be honest, I thought outplayed them at for a decent part of the game. But here's what it comes down to: it doesn't matter. Scoreline is scoreline, and these are the games that Arsenal would have been losing last season.
True.
Right.
True.
So winning that game shows you exactly the medal that they need, and it was Bukayo Saka once again. And a quick little shout out, because Brendan Aronson was one of the better players on the field for a good 60 minutes of that game. And I think he created 4 chances, but Leeds right now, they need to figure something out, because it doesn't matter, Brendan, if you create 4 chances. If you're going to play Cam, you got to figure out how to actually put the ball in the back of the net. And we have not seen it yet since the beginning. And Leeds need to figure out who that goal scorer is. Rodrigo is dribbled up, whatever. But that's not the story here. The story is Arsenal. And the story has been Arsenal previously.
Ramsdale.
And it's Ramsdale, but I have a cautionary statistic for you. Okay? And this was previous to today's win. So I don't know how this statistic, this weekend's win, I should say, I don't know how this statistic changes with this. But previous to the weekend's game and the weekend's win versus Leeds, the last team to start a Premier League season with 8 wins out of their first 9 games and to not win the title was Arsenal in 2007-2008. You ready for this? The last team to do the exact same thing before that
was
Arsenal. 2004 to 2005. And I wouldn't look back and say that this smattering that Arsenal has put together is the finished product that is as good or better than that 2007-2008 team. So with that said, they're also young as all get out. They are young, and they are growing into their game, and where they were 12 months ago to where they are now, it is just light years ahead. Huge improvement. So could they grow in to being as good as that 07-08 team and that 04-05 team that also started out the season as hot? And also back then, you had different teams, but now it's Manchester City, right?
True.
So I just wanted to bring that up. It's a little bit of a cautionary statistic, but Arsenal's trending in the right direction and not dropping points.
And
there you go.
I'll push some stats too. So with individuality, with Saka, okay? Saka scored the goal against Leeds, and in his last 7 games, he's got 4 goals and 4 assists for Arsenal, okay? He must get that extension, okay? And he's earning 30K a week. And Phil Foden just got his extension, and I got here 225K a week Foden's earning. So again, Saka deserves the pay up, and he will get it, in my opinion. And another player I want to give a shout out that will, just like Saka, get an extension too, it's Gabriel Martinelli. One of the best buys ever for £6 million. Okay, Martinelli was a huge bargain and all those trials at Man United, man. Oh my days. But sticking with Martinelli, right now, one of the best wingers, young wingers in the world of football, and he's got 5 goals and 3 assists this season. This is the season, and without injuries, we will see him in the World Cup, possibly. Okay, let's wait and see. In terms of form, he should be there. But I want to give a shout out to Ramsdale and to Ben White, okay? 2 English players that are being key for Arsenal's team with Arteta, and players like Zinchenko, Saliba, Gabriel Jesus, Xhaka, all have all eyes on Arteta and won't listen to anything else but the manager. And those voices are needed to listen to the manager non-stop. So big responsibility and big shout out to how Arsenal's playing right now. 24 goals scored and 4 clean sheets, man. Saliba 22 and Ramsdale are the reasons why this is happening. Arteta went bold, man. Pep Guardiola, disciple.
and that remember, I said it in our live on Friday. It's all a plan by Pep Guardiola to make the Premier League more interesting for himself. Mikel Arteta, Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko.
4 points clear, man. 4 points clear. Arsenal.
He said Joe Shields went to Southampton to go to Chelsea. I mean, you're talking about like he's just fortifying other teams to build themselves in the shadow of Manchester City. Now, I'm all of this is tongue in cheek, but you did mention some individual statistic on Bukayo Saka. I got to follow up with one of my own because at the age of 21, this kid has already scored against each of Liverpool, Manchester City, Spurs, Manchester United, and Chelsea. I mean, come on.
What?
He's already done it.
Hey, what a player, man. Saka. He has to start for England, man. Must.
Yeah.
Everyone. Bukayo Saka starts ahead of Jadon Sancho. 100%, man. Sancho's having trouble to get selected by Southgate. And Saka this season is showing levels in this Arsenal rebuild, man. Again, get that extension. Honestly, if Saka doesn't extend with Arsenal, he can go to Real Madrid. He literally can go to Real Madrid. If they're not getting Mbappé, Rodrigo's staying, Vinicius, get Saka. There's your English player, man. That'd be bold. That would be
costly.
Is it City always getting these Arsenal players? Will we see City again?
I'm going to say it right now. There is no way in hell Bukayo Saka ever thinks about going to Manchester City.
What? No way? I could see Odegaard. If they don't get titles, Odegaard and Saka contemplating going to City. If Arsenal doesn't win titles.
But how long do we actually think Pep Guardiola is going to be at the helm of City?
Well, great question. I think 2 years. 2 years, maybe. If he gets this treble of Premier League, staying at the top is very hard. You'll need a rest, man. But Foden, too. I mentioned it fast, man. Phil Foden, he extended, until 2027. 225,000 a week in pounds. And he's got 4 Premier League titles already at Man City. And 12 trophies won at the age of 22. Phil Foden goes bold. And understandably so. Haaland went to join this ride, man. Join this ride. So
it was a hell of a game of football. And as we watched it at Anfield, I look forward to watching it at the Etihad. It's the same as El Clásico. We get to watch the reboot at Camp Nou. So, hey, all I got to say is this is a win for some sort of competitive parity in the Premier League, because we all looked at it and we said, okay, Manchester City has scored, ready for this, 33 goals this season in 10 games, and they've only let up 10. Well, Arsenal has scored 24, only let up 10. Tottenham has scored 22, only let up 10. Chelsea has scored 15 and only let up 10. What? That's your top 4 for you right now. Apparently, everyone's got a relatively solid defense, and it's those that have better offense, the 2 better offenses, are the ones that are in the throes of it. But guess what? Tottenham, Antonio Conte is on the same points as Manchester City. Go figure.
2-0, man. 2-0 win to Everton. And Conte ball, once again, should rhyme with consistency ball. Because that's what's been happening with Tottenham, with Conte. And it's good news that Conte wants to get the extension at Tottenham because his contract finishes at the end of the season. And it's slowly but steady. The foundations are being laid by Conte, man. And this is a stat I gotta say too. This has been the best start ever in the Premier League in Tottenham's history. 23 points in 10 games in the Premier League. Conte is doing magic. And again, I'm saying the foundations are being laid, okay? And the fact that you got a Richarlison there, okay? I know he might miss the World Cup, okay? That's a big sad news in my opinion. From Conte to Richarlison now, 2 huge players we're not going to see in the World Cup, maybe. And there's another one too at Chelsea. But just want to say too, Richarlison and Son will stay at Tottenham even when Kane leaves. That I think it's inevitable. To Bayern Munich, okay? So Conte being that manager that's making those decisions, I got to respect that. So Conte ball's real. And Doherty, man, what a player. What a player with Conte. What a player.
Yeah, well, I think we can give credit to Conte, but I think the X factor was Harry Kane's diving ability in that win versus Everton. How many times have you seen Harry Kane do that? Okay? How many times have you seen him do that? He acts so damn well that there was just the faintest bit of contact on him. He went down as if his life depended on it, or he was dying, or whatever you want to talk about it. Boom, penalty kick. They get a little bit of breathing room. But none of that changes the fact that, yes, Conte has a project. He is executing on that project as it stands. I'm going to take the other end of your bet that Spurs are going to win something this season. I think it might be next season if he stays there. It's just whether or not he's a millennial in the sense that he needs a trophy now. I just don't think that they're there yet. And I think they can win one even. Yeah.
They need the Google money first for Conte to win that title. The Google money.
Yeah.
Bro, how much is reportedly set for the naming of the stadium? Is it like 1 billion in sponsorship? Like
it could be.
Like what?
Honestly, it could be. First off, that stadium is immaculate. Absolutely immaculate. Cutting edge, like so ridiculously gorgeous. I'm waiting for my I'm waiting for my VIP red carpet rollout, please. But it is one I have to get to, and that's coming from somebody that went to White Hart Lane. I actually got to go see a game at White Hart Lane, and that was like a fire trap. Really intimate. Like sitting on your neighbor's lap. Intimate.
Oh, my days.
But Tottenham Stadium is absolutely gorgeous. But when it comes down to it, I don't think I think Harry Kane could leave, and they would still have a better shot next season to win a trophy.
Ooh, a better shot. Oh man.
Yeah.
Who can replace Kane? Lautaro Martinez?
The way that football moves these days.
Lukaku?
Give it 6 months, and we'll have 5 new transfer targets we've never even heard of before.
That could be the case. But strikers, though.
I don't want to embarrass myself. I would have to build a short list. So let's get back to it. When we prepare for the January transfer window, I want one of our topics to be Harry Kane's replacement will be. And I want to know
Lukaku.
Lukaku,
if Chelsea doesn't want to keep him, and Inter ain't happy with his form right now. Everybody's saying he's overweight. He's not training properly as he was in the past. So why not? Maybe Tottenham landing Lukaku. Let's wait and see. But we're mentioning a lot Tottenham, man. And the team that won 2 Champions Leagues in London still remains to be Chelsea, okay? And Graham Potter ball. 5 games, okay? 5 wins in a row, and they still remain unbeaten. And Mason Mount's been looking amazing with Graham Potter, okay? 4 goals and assists in his last 3 games, man. Great stats, and that free kick. Take Hubbo. What a beauty from Mason Mount. And again, Mount, we're going to see this in the World Cup, man. Mason Mount, Phil Foden, and Harry Kane, I believe, will be the 3 best players for England in this World Cup. If it's 4, put Pickford there, because Pickford always goes bold, man. So I want to give that shout out to Mason Mount that is looking incredible with Graham Potter.
Replace Foden with Bukayo Saka, and you've got who I think. But listen, we got to say it right now. I think we both owe Mason Mount a little of an apology. I know all of Twitter does. Chelsea fans, non-Chelsea fans. I mean, come on, that guy. Mason Mount was getting thrown under the bus. 11 goals, 10 assists last season, and because he had 0 goals, 0 assists heading into this week or something, or heading up to this month, whatever it was. Since our last podcast, he had 2 assists in a 2-0 win over Wolves. He had another assist in the away win over AC Milan, and then he adds himself a goal versus Villa, right? I mean, 2 goals versus Villa, right?
Yep, 2 goals.
Did I get that wrong?
Like,
okay.
It's looking good. I agree with that about Mason Mount.
Yeah.
But do you think he starts 100% for England?
I mean, under Southgate? Yes.
Yeah.
Under Southgate. Under Southgate, yes.
But and I got to shout this out just so we don't forget. No Reece James, okay? 8 weeks out, okay? And in the World Cup, huge miss, because no doubt in my mind, Reece James would start for England ahead of Trent, ahead of Walker. He's injured, okay? And ahead of Trippier. Yeah. Reece James is showing those levels, man. Oh.
It's a bad loss. I mean, it's a very bad loss. I mean, for England in particular, definitely for Chelsea. Chelsea should almost be happy that they have the World Cup because it's a month that he can use to recover. I know Reece James threw a tweet out there basically saying it's not over until it's over. He's gonna try his best to rehab and get back, but I think he'd be dumb to do that. But then again, it is the World Cup. But here's what you lose with England. You lose a little bit of that versatility, because Kyle Walker could have slotted back into a 3 center back, right, pairing. He could have been that 3rd center back. So could Reece James, right? You're not really going to get that with Trippier that much. And
Ben White, though. Shout out to Ben White.
Ben White. Yeah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, maybe. Who the heck knows what's going to happen?
Like, will he get that? He can get that call-up, too. Man, it would be leaving him in too bold. But Walker Peters, I think it can happen.
I mean, if you're going to throw out those names, you might as well throw out Lamptey.
But Ghana, I think he did decide Ghana, maybe.
Oh, did he decide Ghana?
But I could shout out another name, a striker, and I want to give a shout out in this pod to him. It's Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney has 10 games, 8 goals, and 2 assists, okay? And he's never missed a penalty at Brentford. 20 pens, man. And he wouldn't miss that pen in the World Cup for England, as it sees, man.
And then like clockwork, he gets racially abused.
Oh,
freaking keyboard warriors out there, only big behind keyboards. But let's not talk about that negative, because it looks like Ivan Toney took that in stride. Kind of dox the guy, but ultimately that's what you deserve if you're going to be a coward and send stuff like that. Ivan Toney is doing what he needs to do to keep Brentford and Thomas Frank in the Premier League. Frankly, De Serbi and Brighton, it looks like we're back to when Brighton would beat everybody on XG, but they wouldn't win the game. Brighton was essentially the better team, but they did not put it away, and Ivan Toney did. And that's the difference between having a really good striker, really informed striker, and having a Danny Welbeck. Or somebody else.
You know, but Welbeck, man, shouldn't. I saw someone saying Welbeck to go to the World Cup. That is ridiculous to say with all the options you have right now. Toney had a Welbeck, 100%. Like, that's no debate, man. But you're mentioning... I have no idea, but positives and negatives, I just want to mention here, Man United, okay? 0-0 game against Newcastle, and De Gea had 500... dedication of 500 appearances, and Ronaldo with 700 goals scored, okay? Shout out to that, but I want to say this, man. De Gea has to leave Man United this season, and the replacement is Diogo Costa from Porto. 60 million release clause, and he's the first ever goalkeeper to save a pen, okay, and have an assist in a Champions League match at 23. Those are levels, great levels. And he's got something that Erik ten Hag needs at Man United, which is he's one of the best keepers with the ball passing distribution, Dio Costa. And that's what Man United need from the back. Something De Gea doesn't have, okay? But shout out to De Gea getting those 500 appearances for Man United. Legend.
There you go.
Gotta say
there
that.
You go. Yeah, you do. And wow, has it been a weird first 10 plus games for Manchester United and De Gea. But ultimately, I want to go back quickly to Chelsea because Potter obviously continues to get results. Todd Bowley, of course, he's still going bold when it comes down to it. I don't know. This kind of got buried in the headlines, buried in the Kylian Mbappé headlines, which we'll talk about shortly. But he brings in Manchester City and Southampton's former director of recruitment, Joe Shields.
Yes.
Okay. And Joe Shields will be co-director of their recruitment team. It's another example of, okay, Bowley didn't get exactly who he wanted, right? We all know who he wanted, Salzburg, Leipzig, those guys. But you're getting a guy that has built quite a armory of amazing scouting targets that are starting to pan out. Namely, at Southampton, you've got Armel Bella Kotchap, one of the best young center backs in the league right now for Southampton. He brought him over. He also brought over Adozi and Juan Larios and a certain guy named Romeo Lavia from Manchester City, which happens to be where he was previously. So I think Joe Shields is going to do wonders not only with the academy, but he's going to do wonders with pulling from those resources that he's got, because clearly these guys want to play in a setup where he has some sort of a role. But with Chelsea's persistence, I cannot not see Joe Shields going back for a guy like Valentino Livramento, right? Or a guy like, you're going to see him pull from Southampton, and I think that's going to be one of the first places. You're going to see him pull from Manchester City, all those guys, maybe Carlos Borges, who knows? But all those guys that aren't going to get a shot at Manchester City, you might see them pull him in. But ultimately, Joe Shields is just another example of Todd Bowley finally getting that director of recruitment that he got. And frankly, he's setting up a behemoth that should be in place for not just 1 year. He's taken a long road, as well as giving them the transfer kitty to compete right away. So I'm just impressed with that.
Graham Potter needs brains next to him too, man, to make those decisions. Just wait and see who's the sporting director, though. Like he's not the sporting director still. Like, so there's still that big doubt at Chelsea.
True.
Do you think Luiz Campos goes and leaves PSG? Like, there was rumors that could have been the case. Maybe there was some rumors about that.
I've heard those same rumors in the States, and that would be really, really intriguing. Although Luis Campos in the Premier League, I don't know. What do you think? Different animal?
Nah. Same animal. But Monaco, Lille, now PSG. I think Luis Campos would make a Premier League team win the Premier League. If it's Chelsea, even if it's Tottenham. Mourinho wanted him back in the day. I want to say that. But sticking my last shot with the Premier League, I want to say this, man. Shout out to Alicia Lehman, the best agent of Aston Villa ever, locking in Douglas Luiz until 2026 at Aston Villa, okay? And now we understand that deadline controversy of Douglas Luiz not going to Arsenal. All eyes on Aston Villa, and yes, as it seems, on Alicia Lehman too.
Yeah, well, listen, I don't know if she's Swiss or she's Canadian or whatever, and I don't know if they're married, but I do know the saying,
soon.
Happy wife, happy life. And if that's what keeps Douglas Luiz at Villa in Birmingham, then good on him. But frankly, I don't know, man. I really do feel, is it time to say Stevie Gerrard in the mud?
Yeah,
Villa in the mud?
I think I think Aston Villa are already considering a new manager. Yes.
Let's frame that for a second, because at the beginning of the season, who did we have probably, eating it first? And it was Frank Lampard, right? Frank Lampard at Everton. When it comes down to, playing legends, and now Stevie Gerrard.
La remontada of Lampard. No doubt,
I
man.
guess so.
Like, and Everton's playing better. It's facts. It's facts.
They are.
And
They are.
I think, too, like, the Diego Carlos injury, I gotta point that out again. I don't think Mings likes a lot Stevie G. I think there's a bit of a tough tension there. And Mings won't be going to England, as it seems, too.
Yeah.
So,
No.
it's not the best times. It's not the best times at Aston Villa. But do you have any shouts in the Prem?
Yeah, one last shout. More so, I want to toot my own horn here, pat myself on the back, whatever you want to call it. Nottingham Forest. They have sacked. They have sacked their lead scout and their head of recruiting. No matter how many players you need, never is it right to bring 22, 23 new players into a setup, especially into a Premier League setup. Why? It's going to take you 3 years just to remember all their names first. I don't understand it. I don't care how many players
Not
you
Lingard,
need.
though.
You could have stopped at 11. I know there was a little creative accounting here, a little creative financing, but Nottingham Forest, what the hell were you thinking? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Did I want to be wrong? 100%. But Nottingham Forest looks like absolute trash for the most part right now. And this is probably not where it's going to stop when it comes. And it feels like if they took a different tactic towards building this team, loans would have been a great start. Loans in the league. People that knew the league would have been a great start instead of just signing people left and right. They have great names. Renan Lodi, Loic Bade. They've got phenomenal names.
Scarpa hasn't even come.
I know, like, they're not even going to see. Like, they're going to be a championship team by who the hell knows, February.
Hey, it's sad. Whatever. It's sad. No, and they're going to go to the championship, and then they might have a good team for the Prem, as it seems maybe from that theory, man. But it's sad times. But people, put down below in the comments on YouTube, who will be relegated in the Prem? And do you agree with Breton that they shouldn't have signed as many players as they did? And we're talking here about transfers, and why not lead up to the man that's hating the last transfer window last summer with what he's saying right now, that it is Kylian Mbappé, that he's already saying, I might buy myself out in January. We have L'Equipe reporting just that. Buying himself out his contract in January. Mbappé, man. Like, he's bigger than PSG. He's literally, man, the ego is, oh my, I can't understand.
I'm going to say it right now. He's bluffing. He's bluffing. He's not going to buy himself out. There's too many zeros on the end of that. There's no way he's going to do it.
But I do agree with Thierry that I don't know what Mbappé was promised this summer. And a lot of reports are saying he was promised Lewandowski, Bernard Silva, and Milan Skriniar. And not one of those players were signed in the summer. And Mbappé ain't happy about that. But I agree. Haaland only plays striker. I think Mbappé the same way should only play winger. You don't play to Mbappe's strengths at striker, and I do understand the discontent. But come on! That to this level? Saying you're going to leave after signing a 300 million contract? Like, this can't be that fast. The change, the switch. It can't.
Yeah, well, like, doesn't Mbappe have a veto? Can't he just fire Gaultier if he wants to? I mean, come on. It's not the owners that are essentially making him play the wing. It's very clearly Gaultier. So ultimately, I don't know who's supposed to play striker. So now what? Mbappe is saying taking one for the team is worth 300 million or 200, whatever it takes to buy himself out of this crap. Ultimately, I think it's a bluff. You know what? I don't know whether or not they've said it outright. They might have alluded to it, but I feel like somebody has already said. Maybe this is a tweet I shouldn't, even be referencing. I have no clue where I saw it, but I feel like they already said that ship has sailed. They don't want him. They don't want Mbappe.
Who?
Right? Real Madrid.
I think so too. I think Florentino Perez will make a statement with that, and we'll get Haaland instead. There's a possibility of that being the case.
Especially if you have to give up the future of your club essentially to sign the man. But
if he buys himself out, man, he might be doing a favor for PSG too, man. Because if he's not happy at PSG, like, what's gonna happen in the next year or 2 years? Even worse news for PSG fans. Like, it doesn't make sense. But
I don't
regardless of
know.
everything, Mbappe did become the top goal scorer ever, okay, in Champions League history
Yes.
for PSG with 31 goals, and he's not going to stop there. But come
Yep.
on, all this discontent. Like, Ekitike is the striker. I understand what you said there with Galtier. He could put Ekitike at striker and have Mbappe at left winger and kept the Kalimundo on the bench that he's doing really well in Liga. Why didn't that happen? Why didn't that happen? It's because it's all big names, big flashy names in today's age with football. They had to get a Kane, a Lewandowski, a Ronaldo, and it doesn't make sense. Stick with the plan. Stick with the plan, man.
But it is. It's hard. It's hard to believe that the picture with ownership, where he was smiling ear to ear after signing this deal, was like 4 or 5 months ago, right? And man, a lot has changed since then. And really, it comes down to it: is that deal that he signed with PSG is not only an amazing thing for him financially,
Facts.
but it is also a negative thing for him for any future deals he signs. Because there aren't many clubs out there, we can count them, there's like three out there, that have the financial wherewithal to be able to sign this man and to give him the keys of Madrid, give him the keys of Liverpool, give him the keys of wherever.
City.
And when it comes down to it,
Or Newcastle.
you will be mortgaging your future in order to sign Kylian Mbappe. And guess what? Guess who won the Champions League last season? Real Madrid.
Exactly.
Guess who won La Liga? Real Madrid. I mean, when it comes down to it, Ligue 1, they've signed Messi, they've signed Neymar, they've signed Mbappe, and they haven't gotten squat to show for it.
And you said those three, and there's another stat that they don't got squat. I think I said that right. And it's right now in Liga, the top goal scorer is not Neymar, it's not Messi, and it ain't Mbappe. It's Jonathan David with 9 goals, one of the most underrated forwards in the world right now, and he became the all-time leading goal scorer in Lille history in Liga. What a stat from the Canadian, man. Canadians are making history in football, as it seems with Jonathan David. He's going to leave, man. Next January or next summer. 100%.
I agree with you. And it's come on, like, it hasn't just been this season too, right? Last season, as you mentioned, he hit for 15 goals in 32 Ligue 1 games. So that's 24 goals in a little over 40 starts in Ligue 1 in the last 2 years, or last 1.5 years. And you're right, he's above Neymar, he's above Messi, he's above Mbappe in the goal scoring charts. And you know what? There's another guy in Ligue 1 that people really need to start paying attention to that probably will not go to the World Cup and we won't see him again, but I guarantee you Newcastle or somebody will be coming in for this man, and that's Martin Terrier. Okay, nice. Martin Terrier for Stade Rennais hit for 21 goals last season, 21 goals last season in Ligue 1. Okay, 3 assists, and already this season he's got 9 goals, 3 assists in 14 games, which includes the Europa League. And Stade Rennais are already through to the knockout stage of the Europa League, so he's only 25. He can play out wide. He can play up top. Okay, he's got decent size, like amazing awareness, and he's been ridiculously consistent over the last year and a half. If I'm Newcastle, bringing in Kylian Mbappe, absolutely wonderful, great. Okay, you're basically, I don't know, you're going to break FFP somehow. But when it comes down to it, the trustier signing there is probably Martin Terrier, who would make you instantly better and also not mortgage your future, mortgage the community's future. Because there is no mortgaging Qatar, not Qatar. They own PSG. But the Saudis.
But you're mentioning great signings, and I completely agree. People respect Martin Terrier, underrated player, and I'm gonna say an underrated team this season playing is PSV, man. Game after game, they are balling out, and Xavi Simons became the first teenager to have double digits goal involvements in the top 7 leagues, man. Insane at 19, and the right decision to leave PSG. Please don't go back to PSG and keep on improving Xavi Simons. And I gotta say too, Cody Gakpo has 25 goal involvements this season, okay? And he doesn't play striker. He plays winger next to the striker. So it's just insane. Whoever gets him, I think it's going to be a Premier League club. and they will get a
Yeah.
player that loves to bang in mad goals, okay? Great goal
Yeah.
involvement. And it's not just goals, it's assists too. Because, yes,
And
25 goal involvements. Insane.
Bobby, and you're missing one part of that triumvirate who never really
Sangare.
gets talked about.
Sangare.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Sangare, sure, but I mean an attacking triumvirate.
Teal.
You've got Xavi Simons, you've got Cody Gakpo, but Joey Veerman, 23 years old,
Agreed.
goals, assists, shows up on stats, also does a lot that does not show up on stats. He could wind up in the Premier League with Brighton. He could wind up in the Premier League with, one of the upper, middle of the table type of teams. But like PSV Eindhoven has probably the most high octane U23 trio on the planet right now.
Facts.
And Xavi Simons, do not take lightly just because he's in the Eredivisie. Do not take lightly what he's doing there.
No.
This was not guaranteed. This was never guaranteed. Was he good in the UEFA Youth League? Sure. Was he good in limited appearances for PSG? Sure. Was there any guarantee that he would go to PSV Eindhoven and do anything? No, there was no guarantee. Him going over there and being the second fastest in Eredivisie history as a teenager to get to 10 goals in a season, that's ridiculous.
Insane, man, by Xavi Simons. What? Just getting
It's amazing.
started, man. Just shows that he's got a bit of Spanish in him and a bit of Dutch, man. Elite mix. Elite mix, man.
I have to ask you.
Yes.
I have to ask you before we move on from him. And I think it might be too soon, but I just got to ask the question. At what point, if you're bringing Cody Gakpo along, obviously, and he's got a big role to play for the Netherlands in the World Cup,
Yes.
would it make sense with the extra 3 slots to bring a guy that has built a phenomenal rapport with Cody Gakpo, who is young, who probably won't play many minutes, if any minutes at all? Would it make sense to bring Xavi Simons with the Dutch to the World Cup?
It makes total sense, man. It's fucks that he should be going to the World Cup if he's one of the best players in Eredivisie, which is the National League in the Netherlands, man. Oh my days, man. In my opinion, he should be. He's the future of the Netherlands, and they need key players for the future to be playing next to Frankie, De Ligt, all those amazing talented players. Gravenberch and Xavi Simons, they must be like, I remember playing against you in the youth times, man. One at Ajax and the other at Barca too, man. But I mentioned Sangare, and again, we mentioned Cody Gakpo, Xavi Simons, and Sangare too, pa. What a player he is. Elite CDM. I wanted him at Benfica. I'm happy Florentine Luiz is there, extended now until 2027. But Sangare ain't bad at all, and I expect a move soon. But Ruud van Nistelrooy, amazing manager too at PSV. It all worked out in the end.
The funny thing is that Eredivisie, that top of the Eredivisie, is still very close. Doesn't matter if PSV Eindhoven scores 6 goals a game. They still got to win the ones that matter. And they did slip up. And it's Ajax, it's AZ Alkmaar, it's Feyenoord, and it's who's the other one? Oh, and PSV Eindhoven at the top. So it's still very much a rat race, but this is the one we want to really talk about because it is like there's a rapport that has been built, and Ruud van Nistelrooy is definitely a big reason why it has happened so quickly. Not surprisingly, one of the most ruthless strikers ever to play, right, in the last 20, 30 years. But, Ruud van Nistelrooy somehow is able to build a high-octane offense.
Great.
Okay, yep, it makes sense.
Great manager, man, at PSV. Trusting the youth too, man. And I did mention a stat from a teenager, breakout stat, and I'm going to mention another one, okay? Switching leagues, going to Dortmund now, okay? Jude Bellingham became the first teenager in Champions League history to score in 4 consecutive matches. Elite levels from Jude Bellingham, and his stock from 25 million now to 150 is completely understandable. Great job from Dortmund there. But what's happening with Dortmund? Elite ball playing ability, elite ball playing in the Champions League, but in the Bundesliga, what's that? But shout out to Union Berlin, man. Top of the Bundesliga for a reason. Geraldo Becker, Jordan Pifok, and Joe White, man. Well, shout out to those 3 players. That 2-0 win, man. Huge win.
And there's a good chance Jordan Pifok somehow does not make the U.S. men's national team roster. Go figure.
How?
But no,
Greg Bellharter. What? How? How does he get away with that? How?
Yeah, Berhalter has his pets, has his players. You're going to see Ricardo Pepi there before you see Jordan
But
Pefok.
Pepe, I
I honestly,
understand. Pepe, I
yeah,
understand.
well,
Who are the other
and
ones?
I honestly, Josh Sargent
Okay.
and Jesus Ferreira. Jesus Ferreira.
Okay.
So there's an argument to be made, but who's doing it at the highest level? Jordan Pefok.
But Pepe, I'd call him. I'd call Pepe. I like Pepe.
Yeah, I would. I mean, now that he's scoring goals for Groningen, I think I said that right.
Yeah.
That is a good sign. Josh Sargent is joint leading scorer in the English Championship. Frankly, I think that there's room to bring all four. And you don't bring a guy like Jordan Morris, who's a MLS legend, if you will. You don't bring a guy like Paul Areola, who is an MLS legend, if you will. Those are the two pets. Greg Berhalter pets, great players, but players not great beyond MLS. They do have a certain awareness. They do have a certain kind of tenacity and determination. But Josh Sargent does too. Jesus Ferreira. You bring all four of those strikers and you give yourself a bevy of options. But I didn't mean to get into that conversation. Union Berlin. What I meant to say is 100% facts. Union Berlin deserves more credit for what they're doing on the budget that they're doing it, on how incrementally better they've gotten every season in the Bundesliga. And even if they fall short of somehow winning the Bundesliga, which would have been outside of their wildest dreams heading into the season, if they somehow get Champions League football next season,
amazing.
My goodness, with what they've got on their roster, you look at that roster and you go, I don't know 95% of these people. And they are still getting stuff done. And then there's Dortmund, and they can't even fire properly without Adeyemi. They can't fire properly. Royce is injured. They've got Jude Bellingham running the show, and he's 19 years old.
Facts.
He's phenomenal, but like
generational.
You got a 19-year-old captain. You're either like entering into the annals of history, or something's wrong with your team because you need to be building around kind of a more veteran core. I don't understand Dortmund. Dortmund pisses me off to no end. I have no better way to say it. They should be so much better than they are, and they're not.
I like how you're saying about Dortmund, because I do agree, and I think the manager decision didn't help too, man. And you said the team that irritates you, and I have a team that irritates me a lot too, but I have a positive to say on it, that it was Juventus. Okay, did win that game this weekend against Torino away from home. And it's because Dusan Vlahovic. I don't know how Dusan Vlahovic has 7 goals and assists in 9 games playing under Allegri. How is this man scoring these goals playing under the system? And this is so sad, in my opinion, with this Juventus team. That is, Juve has 13 goals scored in Serie A, and 6 of those goals were scored by Dusan Vlahovic. So it's Vlahovic or bust, as it seems with the goals at Juve. They need more options and better. But getting Gundogan for 30, that wouldn't be the right deal to do. That wouldn't be the right deal to do. I saw that briefly, man. Trust me, Reti. Golden Boy nominee for a reason, man. Come on.
Golden Boy nominee. And you know what? I got a really easy one that you could get done. I don't know. I doubt Allegri will go for it. Christian Pulisic needs to leave Chelsea. The man, Christian Pulisic, scores a goal versus Wolves, and then he gets rewarded with 180 minutes on the bench by Graham Potter. And I don't think it's just Graham Potter's fault. It's very clear Thomas Tuchel. It's very clear Graham Potter. Both don't see what they need to see in Christian Pulisic to give him a spot in the 11. So ultimately, Christian Pulisic better go into this World Cup with the world's largest chip on his shoulder. He better play his ass off to the point that he gets a move, and he needs to leave. I don't care if Graham Potter sweet talks him to say we need depth, whatever. He needs to leave in January. Christian Pulisic, I understand, is not the world's best player, but when it comes down to it, he is an icon in American footballing history, and he is somebody that at 23, almost 24, he might have just turned 24. He needs to move and he needs to play every day. He deserves to play every day. Needs to leave Chelsea, and Juventus needs options, as you just mentioned. AC Milan needs depth. Those are two great destinations for him. Get it done, please.
And if Juventus in January had like Vlahovic in front and behind Vlahovic, Chiesa, Pulisic, and Di Maria, that ain't a bad trio behind Vlahovic at all, in my opinion, okay?
No,
and they could do proper damage. And they're competing against AC Milan with Rafael and Napoli with Gvisha Kvaratskhelia, okay? Juventus needs much more than what they have. But my last shouts here in the pod, I mentioned the Golden Boy talk with Miretti, and there's a lot more in the Golden Boy I want to say. Players like Benjamin Sesko, players like Scalvini, okay, and Zaleski. 3 underrated Wonderkids, in my opinion, considering how good they are. Please, community, remember these names. And shout out to 3 Portuguese players getting nominated. António Silva, completely deserved. Fábio Carvalho, and Nuno Mendes. 3 Portuguese players nominated for the Golden Boy, which makes total sense. For that sense,
it makes total sense.
Just get António Silva for that.
Yeah. I mean, there's like, listen, the Golden Boy shortlist has its flaws. I don't want to go into it. I think it's not even worth it because, let's be honest, 17 of them, 18 of them are what you call honorable mentions. For honorable mention reasons. We all know that this comes down to whether or not they want to give Pedri a second Golden Boy, right? Since he won in 2021, or if it's between Jude or Musiala,
exactly,
right? And I think,
Camavinga won a Champions League. Detrimental,
and that is the thing you have to think about here, right? Jude Bellingham has won nothing. But he's in there because of his outsized importance to Dortmund. Musiala won the Bundesliga. Pedri won nothing, but his importance not only to Barcelona, also to the Spanish national team.
Bellingham's gonna win. I think Jude Bellingham's gonna win the Golden Boy. Pedri won it last season. Jamal Musiala should win it, in my opinion, but I think Jude Bellingham is going to win it. And shout out to Camavinga, man. Amazing run in the Champions League, but I think Jude Bellingham's going to edge it. 4 consecutive goals in the Champions League. Youngest ever to do that. But I just, I
think, if you want an argument here, you're not going to get an argument. I agree.
Gavi.
But
where's Gavi? 1 year younger, I agree. But and Gvardiol.
He'll be here next year.
Shout out to Gvardiol being in the mix of all this too.
Leipzig, man.
True.
Leipzig is another team that, man, in the Bundesliga, I thought they were going to have themselves a season. Bayern's stitle in this thing, and they've got, 4 wins, 1 loss, 4 draws.
Bayern are still in it when Union Berlin is leading the Bundesliga, man. Like,
and you got Arsenal at the top of the Premier League. I mean, this is fun. I'll take this. But no, the Golden Boy is the Golden Boy is nothing when it comes down to it. But I think it's a great shout out for a lot of these guys. And you know what? Maybe we can do who we think is going to be the final 20 from next season with guys that people haven't even heard of this season. Because let's be honest, 6 months ago, aside from you, aside from me too, because UEFA Youth League, nobody knew who the hell Antonio Silva was, aside from you, right? But the people that were probably scouting this, the people that were voting on this, there's no way in hell he was going to have a vote at that point, except maybe for the UEFA Youth League final win. So it is amazing how quickly things change in football in 6 months. Scalvini, too. Scalvini is another guy, right? Willy Nanto, the only reason he's on there is clearly not because of his club ball. He was pretty good for Zurich before he moved to Leeds. He's barely played, but it's because he's playing for Italy, right? He's playing for Italy at his age, but they didn't qualify for the World Cup. So anyway, my last shout out for you is not a Wonderkid. I do have to bring it up. I don't know why I'm talking about so many U.S. men's national team players, but it's getting so close to the World Cup, I almost have to. It was so pleasing to see Timothy Weah step onto the field for Lille, step on the field for, Canadian brother Jonathan David as well, and to assist not just once, but twice in 4 minutes and show that he can be a difference maker, not just for Lille. If we extrapolate out, we need Timothy Weah as an X factor. We need Gio Reyna as an X factor if we're going to do anything in Qatar if we're going to do anything
Fuck.
in Qatar. So
Against England, Wales, and Iran.
you need them.
I
You
really,
need them.
like, I really believe you guys have a chance, man. I don't know. It's just the tingling feeling. Tingling feeling that or the US or Iran are going to surprise the heck out of Wales and out of England. Like, England, if they start Maguire, I'm calling him, man. Bale's going to go hella bold and Pulisic too. On top of Maguire.
Well, right now, you ready for this? Gareth Bale and LAFC are the co-favorites. They're probably the favorite. They just won the Supporter Shield. But they are the favorites alongside the Philadelphia Union to hoist MLS Cup, and that would be amazing. Philadelphia Union versus Gareth Bale and LAFC when all comes down to it. But Gareth Bale has done literally nothing since joining Major League Soccer.
But he'll do something in the World Cup. He always does it for Wales.
Of course he will.
Wales,
and he'll probably do
golf,
it against the USA.
LAFC.
Yeah.
Right now. Golf, maybe LAFC's ahead of golf this time. Maybe.
Gareth Bale needs himself an Alicia Lehman.
Nah.
That's what he needs. Ay, ay, ay.
But people,
well,
love your Golden Boy nominee comment, man. I want to know personally, who do you think is going to win the Golden Boy? And if you're here listening to these banters of Bale, man, please, community, like the podcast. We want to have more likes in the pod so we know you're enjoying the content we're producing, man. We want to know if you're enjoying it. And if you're listening until now, it's really appreciated. If you just like
2 weeks? What? 2.5 weeks until I'm in Portugal?
Yes, man. And that podcast, man, is going to be one of the boldest ever. Definitely. Leading up to a World Cup. But community, thank you for listening until now to episode 77. Don't forget to comment on YouTube, your topic that you wanted to have seen, and tell us more topics for the next podcast. Again, thank you, community, for listening until now, and thank you for going bold listening to this podcast.